Just no.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, you did it! You got me.
We were just talking about the movie Twisters, but
Yeah.
that's not why we're here. Um, welcome, everybody, to the Unready room.
Mm-hmm.
Unready as always, of course.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Gunther. With me, of course, Brandi Jackola. Brandi, how's it going?
It's going fine. How are you?
Not too bad. We were
Good.
just talking about a movie that is about a once in a lifetime crazy tornado season that is stronger than it's ever been, and not one mention is made in the entire film about climate change. So anyway.
Nope. Nope. Can't give in to that liberal agenda. No. It's a
No.
people agenda. It's a world problem. World problem. It doesn't have anything to do with politics at
Nope.
all.
Nope. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we are here to talk about what some would call a liberal agenda, Star Trek.
Yes.
And so welcome, everybody. I see we have some regulars in the chat already. Hey, Matthew, Wellington, Donnie,
Dave's in there.
Tristan. Hey, and Dave. How's it going? Good to see you all. Yeah, really excited to talk about these because we are talking about Star Trek Prodigy, Season 2, Episodes 15 and 16, Ascension, Part 1 and Part 2. These are big ones, folks. I'm excited to talk about this. So,
Me too. I
yeah.
rewatched them yesterday to have them fresh in my mind, and I had forgotten how much they make me cry.
Yeah, man. It's been a while since I watched these the first time, and whew, boy, these are the heavy ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
it wasn't even just the serious stuff. It was just, people showing up, and ships taking the fire for Voyager and stuff like that. I'm just like, just one of those, yay! But I crying is this every emotion. It's every emotion. It doesn't matter. That's how I express it. It's crying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've kind of been the same way, but of course, as a kid, the culture says bad, bad, bad to me because I'm a guy. But I'm unlearning that as I grow and mature. So
Yeah. Well, anyone who says that a man crying is a weakness, I invite them to kindly go shove themselves, shove their heads up their butts, and just go away, because it's ridiculous. Crying is a normal thing that all humans do.
here, here, absolutely. So yeah, there were some things in these episodes that stirred those emotions for sure.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
let's start with Ascension Part 1. Now, the writing credits on this one are
Holy
interesting.
cow.
So Ascension Part 1, written by Aaron McNamara, Jennifer Moreau, Diandra Pendleton Thompson, Keith Sweet II, and Aaron J. Waltke. So a lot of hands on this one.
And most of them, well, 2/3 of them ladies.
Absolutely. And directed by Sung Shin. So yeah, it's a big episode. You can tell there's a lot of stuff building to this, a lot of people's ideas coming together here. Um, and so the beginning of this episode, I love the little bit of quiet retrospective moment here,
Mm.
where they've gotten back to Voyager after all of the, shenanigans in the first half of the second half of the season, if that makes sense. But they've rescued Chakotay, they've brought him back to Voyager. And we have this moment, and Dal sums it up perfectly when he says, everything feels different, everything feels just changed, but maybe we're the ones who've changed. Maybe our experiences have given us this new perspective on things. And that's something that just echoes with, you know, things I've done in my life, things lots of people have gone and done and grown and changed. Leaving the country for 2 years and teaching English overseas, coming back, my life here in Canada seemed so different. And a lot of the things that I took for granted, I just looked at it in a completely new light. And after having seen things from a different perspective and stuff. So I feel like that's a feeling that's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Mm. Yep, fully agree. There's also another thing that Dal says in his personal log that I really liked. Um, he says, maybe home isn't always a place, it's the people you trust the
Mm,
most. And I have
yeah.
to agree. I don't think home is ever a place. I think it's always a person or people, a group of people.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great point. And it's, yeah, well made here. I love that it's earned as well.
Mm,
Like this isn't something that's just a platitude, you know, said by some character. Like these characters have earned that, and you've been along with them on this journey, and it just feels really, I can't think of another word other than earned, like really well earned.
yeah, I agree. Because these kids have been through a lot, and they have proven how resilient every species can be
Hmm.
when faced with adversity and trying to find their way, and especially being as young as they are. It's just, they're my babies.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick makes a good point here. In the episode Threshold, Tom Paris says that his dad saw crying as a sign of weakness. Ah, can we ever just kill that attitude? Can that just go away forever?
I agree, because you know what? This is gonna sound weird, but when I see a man cry, I get turned on. I'm just like, "Oh, oh, it's like that, is it?
Well,
Alright then."
and I mean, like, the culture in weird ways knows that too. Like, you put scenes like that in movies for reasons to get
Mhm,
butts in seats and stuff. And there's something, there's it's like this, the culture says, crying's bad, men have to be men, blah blah blah, but there's this undercurrent of like, oh, sensitive men are to be valued and stuff. There's like these warring ideas that sometimes like don't, I don't know, like it's cognitive dissonance. Like some people
mhm.
can hold both of those ideas, and it's just like I don't understand how that happens sometimes, but anyway.
Yeah. You wanna see crying men? Go over to Hallmark. Anyway,
Hey, there you go.
there was,
And
in
who's
fact,
your audience, right?
yeah,
Women who are going to be turned
yeah.
on by that.
Actually, there are a lot more males watching Hallmark now than
That's
you might
fair.
imagine. So, there was a movie that I saw that had 3 men. Actually, they were discussing their father abandoning them, and each one of them cried. Now, I had never seen any of those men cry in any other Hallmark movie, but they did it for this one, and I
Hmm.
was just like a pile of goo, and crying with them.
Nah. Okay, sorry. Is this true? I need to, that's wild. Really?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Carlos,
because her
yeah.
she's Riley Alzaraki, right? That's her
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
And her
Car
dad,
Carlos.
for
The first time I
Carlos,
saw
thank you,
him
yeah.
the first time I actually saw him was on Reno 911.
That's awesome.
That's how I know her dad.
I forgot about Rocco's Modern Life. I love that show. Oh, man. That's awesome.
That's a beautiful, beautiful connection, you know?
That's so cool. Rocco, rock. Yeah, I love it. Love it. So there's another great Dal moment early in this episode too that I want to touch on, where the trio of Nova Squadron folks are doing the training on the holodeck, and Dal comes in and says, "Sorry, he's late." And like, "Oh, who invited you?" And Magel's like, "I invited him," and all of this, and you're kind of expecting like a snarky Dal quip back that like, "Nah, see, somebody values me or whatever." But like he's so humble and says like, I have a lot to learn and I want to learn from the best. And that totally like catches the one guy off guard. He's like, "Oh, uh
Yeah, his name is Zeph.
thank you, Zeph." It's like,
You're
"Okay,
welcome.
thanks." That
It's
was
funny
great.
too, because he's, like, holding his hand out for the fist bump, and Zeph does not know what to do with that, and he kinda just pats it.
The animation stuff is so good. I love
Yes,
this stuff. Yeah.
it's so great.
But the humbleness that Dal shows just blows my
Mhm,
mind. Like I love that that's the turn his character has taken. That, you know, that's such an easy setup for a quip or a snarky response, and he doesn't take it. He takes the high road and is just, I love it. That made me really happy.
Agree, and I think it has a lot to do with that conversation that he and Chakotay had back on that peak last
Mhm.
nightmare. Its name I can't remember at the moment, and I think that he really listened, and he is, uh, materializing that kind of behavior because he really does want to learn. He really does want to be the best version of himself that he can be, and he feels like he's in a comfortable place to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I just love seeing the growth in these characters, and yeah, that makes me so happy. Um, Speaking of character changes and growth and stuff, they're talking in sick bay. The doctor and Jankum are there with Zero, talking about his body and how it will eventually uh, wither away and not be viable anymore. And this is where we first get the idea that, oh, there's some upgrades with technology that will allow tactile responses and stuff. And I love their reaction, is how joyous and terrifying. That was like, I love that moment. I really like that.
I did too, and it's Zero is really, obviously they're upset that the body isn't lasting as long as they had hoped, but at the same time, they're not giving up.
Mhm.
They're not going to think about what they're losing because they know that they can do something about it. Well, or they can rather have Jankum do something about that. Forget the Daystrom Institute. Who cares
Yeah.
about them? Let's get that old Jankum touch up in there.
Yeah, that was so touching. And now Jacob is touched. That was such a good line.
It really was. I loved that. The surprise, from Jankum and just was like, "No, no, I can't do this." And Zero's like, you're the only person that I want to do
Mhm.
this."
Yeah. Oh, that was lovely.
It
And then speaking of touching conversations, this is kind of the episode for it. We're having these quiet moments before everything kind of hits the fan later, but
was yeah.
um, we have this conversation between Chakotay and Janeway about kind of reflecting on how far they've come, Chakotay's experiences being marooned there for 10 years. And then what comes next was kind of the part of that conversation that interested me the most, where does it go from here? And I think there's a lot of subtext to that. They're talking about careers, they're talking about Starfleet, but they're also talking about each other a little bit there, and that was really sweet.
Yeah, it's gotta be difficult when you're separated from your loved ones and they're on another ship or maybe they're on another planet or whatever it is that they're doing for their own career and you somehow just make it work. But that's the beauty of warp drive and transporters. So,
Yeah. Well, as far as what comes next, though, we get some potentially bad news. But again, this is another part where I think the maturity of the characters is really shining through here, where Jellicoe informs them that Starfleet is going to take over the Protostar mission. Janeway's too close to this, blah blah blah, and the initial instinct from Janeway is to push against that, but I do like that Tysus and Chakotay both kind of say, well, Starfleet has decided this. Maybe they have a good point. And at least like it causes Janeway to consider it a little bit. And I love that, like, there's this knee jerk reaction to ignore orders and stuff. And there's a lot, it's not just Jellicoe on the screen. There's a lot of smart people behind the scenes. Maybe it does need to be considered that there's a bigger picture to look at here. And what really got me is the next scene where the kids are talking about it, and Dal is the one that is like, well, maybe they have a point. And like, wow, how far has he come that he's even considering that fact? I love that. That's such a sign of maturity there.
It is, and I'm the immature one going, no, absolutely not. You guys will screw this up because you know what? You don't have personal experience with this. You don't have all the context. You are not going to take this over and understand what you're dealing with.
And I mean, you're absolutely right, because they're the main characters and they're who the show's about and stuff. So
I
yeah,
know.
you're absolutely right. But I do love that.
No, I do, I do
Yeah.
appreciate that, but I'm just like, no.
And we all know, like, in the end, it'll be them anyway. So
Yeah, of
we're not
course.
worried.
And it wasn't their fault that they
Yeah.
got thrown back into things. So
Okay, so this is, of course, where oh, and then he does say the cadets will need to be reevaluated. I hated that. That was
ooh,
so
that
like,
was the way he said it.
ugh.
Evaluated. Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ronnie Cox still making my skin crawl as Admiral Jellicoe. Way to go, buddy.
Yeah. But the special rogue misfit division, as your name there says, I like that little. I wish that moniker came back a bit more. I think that's a good one.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, Dal says this is bigger than any of us now, or maybe that's Gwyn that says that, but that's I like that it's become this kind of thing that it's beyond just this group of characters, and they're recognizing that too. So
Yeah. It's uh it's a lot. But at the same time, again, you can bring Starfleet in, you can bring in the Department of Temporal Investigations and all that stuff, but you're still not going to have the context
mhm,
because you weren't there.
yeah. And Wesley said, so
Yes,
trust him.
Wesley said all that they're all important. That is
Yeah.
what he said. So,
So this is where stuff starts happening though,
so
because
much stuff.
Voyager, yep, gets contacted by Ilthuron, and he's calling to warn about Essentia constructing this vast fleet out on Solum. And she found the like fast build cheat code. All the ships are
Yep,
building really fast because
yep.
of time manipulation stuff. I wonder how she got that technology. I wonder if we'll find that out somehow.
Mm, mm.
I don't know.
So, somebody's brain maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. But Essentia hijacks the transmission, and we're led to believe that bad things are happening to Ilthuron. Possibly, she's discovered his transmission and hijacked it, and is sending this massive ship to attack Voyager and the Protostar. And again, this design is incredible. The animation is just blows my mind every time.
It's like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Just
like.
suddenly starts just comes out of the darkness
Mhm.
and just and all of these sort of bent arms and whatever, and I'm just like, "What is that?" I don't like it.
Yeah, not good. And yeah, it's being controlled by a dreadnought. I can't remember if that one was just named Dreadnought or if they're all Dreadnoughts. I can't remember that, but
I think if they are, working on ships and controlling ships, that they are dreadnoughts, but I don't
okay.
know because there was the one guy who was
He's the
the
nice one.
librarian.
Yeah. And they're like, let's not have dread in his name.
Yeah, so I can't even remember what they call him, something like the keeper, something like that, I don't
Something
remember.
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but yeah, so this ship comes through this rift and just appears there, and it fires this beam that starts siphoning power from Voyager. It's just sucking all the power out, and meanwhile shoots torpedoes at the protostar. So things aren't looking good right now. it's just hologram Janeway on the Protostar. So Chakotay is going to go take command. And I love that scene where he tells Gwyn that he's going to need some help, and Gwyn just, Protostar crew, report to the transporter room. I love that. That was wonderful.
Yep.
Protostar
Immediately.
crew.
Yep. And he was great with that. He wanted that. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, this is who I want. This is who I know. This is who I want.
Yeah, they
This
know the ship. Yeah.
they can do this. It's their ship too. You know, it's
Yeah.
Chakotay's and the kids' ship. And and the I was going to say something and I can't remember what it was now. Oh well, it'll come back to me later when it's not any more relevant anymore. So
The only thing that would have been better, or maybe not, I don't know, is if she hit her badge and said Special Rogue Misfit Division report to the transporter room.
oh yeah. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. It's when hologram Janeway hails Voyager, goes Janeway to Janeway.
It's that little catch in her voice. That was good.
Yeah.
Janeway to Janeway.
Loved that. Just those little moments like that are what just really make this series special.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, yes, it's got all the big moments and all that, but it's just those little things too that they put in that just, it just makes it so authentic and wonderful. And I love it.
Yeah. Like there are some shows out there that feel like a product. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're assembling it, putting it together, slapping a label on it and throwing it out the door. And for better or for worse, whatever. This does not feel like that. This feels like it went through and got polishes, and just like the amount of love that gets put into this,
Yes.
it's bursting at the seams with it, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel it when I'm watching it. This doesn't feel like a product. It feels like a labor of love of the people involved.
Agreed. And isn't that what Star Trek should always be?
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, that's it right there for sure. So as they're heading to the transporter room to go to the Protostar, however, Zero, well, there's a explosion and the Lurian member of the flight crew is taken out and is injured. Zero's going to take him to sick
Her.
bay.
It's a her.
Oh, is it? I missed
Yeah.
that. I
And her name
apologize.
is Grom. Her name is Grom.
Yeah, I got the name. I didn't realize. I apologize. Zero's going to take her to sick bay and help out there. And so they're down a pilot now as well. And so Dal is going to fill in because, as Chakotay says, Starfleet needs you. And that was a chest puffing moment for Dal. That was cool.
Yep. It was one of those moments I got a little teary.
Yeah, absolutely. Voyager, the big thing is Voyager can't get a lock on the enemy ship's weapons. So these flyers are going to be sent out to relay coordinates. And there's this thing in Star Trek. Star Trek doesn't really do fighters, and fighters in space don't generally make a ton of sense once you understand but combat in Star Trek also generally doesn't make a lot of sense when you start figuring in that like two ships firing at each other will probably never be in visual range. Like they whatever. I loved this use of the fighters in this. Like that was really good to like go and paint a target or something like that. Like that felt very real world. And I don't know, there's something about this trio of fighters flying around that like made me go like, I guess fighters do work in Star Trek. I kind of love this.
Well, it's not like they have a lot of weapons, really.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't recall them ever using weapons because and I found it interesting that they felt they had to tell us that these Nova flyers had been redesigned by Lieutenant Tom Paris himself,
Mm-hmm.
which I find hilarious, not just because obviously, he's got his Delta Flyer design, and of course he's going to mess around with that and make other hot rods, basically, because that's what it is. This is basically a hot rod. But also, Robbie Duncan McNeil played Nick Locarno. And that's how the Nova Squadron is. It's just funny to me.
Mm-hmm. That's a
I
good
feel like
call. Yeah,
the writers were going
I like it. Yeah,
wink.
that's awesome. Um, so yeah, this scene with them flying around, just anything to do with these fighters, uh, it's gorgeous. There's a real sense of speed that you sometimes don't get in Star Trek ship flying bits. Like, I was thinking about the Voyager episode Drive, where they enter the Delta Flyer in a race. And there's some scenes where it's just, lazily kind of going around pylons and stuff. And
Mm.
it's a pretty episode, but like, I don't know, some of those shots looking up at the pilot with you see the viewports above them and the rocks just flying by. Like, there's a real sense of speed and dynamism in these scenes that I just love. They're really cool.
Agree. Also, Drive was the episode where Tom and B'Elanna get married off screen,
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
which is
absolutely
fine.
correct.
It's fine. You don't have to put a wedding in there. It's fine.
No. I think their thinking was we already saw a wedding between them, even though it was like the biomimetic duplicates the season before. Voyager's weird, y'all.
Voyager is weird, and that's why I like it.
Um, so yeah, there's a bunch of stuff with the flying. They can't get close enough. They're being harried by these drones, but they're going to clear a path for Protostar to go and get the coordinates. But unfortunately, Voyager fires the torpedoes, but the drones create this shield which causes them to detonate, disabling Voyager and the Protostar. And things look pretty bad. And that's kind of where the episode ends for them, except we do get another little bit where we see in where Essentia is, and her secret weapon, of course, is Wesley Crusher. And yeah, things don't look good.
Well, and here's what I thought about that immediately. Wesley knows all of the events that have to take place to get the future back on track. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he let himself be captured.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he's just playing along. And obviously, he's not enjoying being in pain and being tortured, but at the same time, he's doing what has to be done in order to get this timeline saved. And that takes a lot of guts, really.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of personal sacrifice that obviously none of the other travelers were willing to do. So I say Wesley, best traveler.
Oh, here. Absolutely. So, we'll save the ratings and final thoughts and stuff for the end of part 2, but I do want to jump in here and do the canon connections and continuity references, because there are a ton in this episode in the first half.
Yeah.
um, Decidedly fewer in the second half, but in the first half there's so many. So first of all, we see stellar cartography, and it's the same design that we saw in Star Trek Generations with the like holographic display all around them. That was gorgeous.
Yes.
Um, so the Lurian pilot, one of my favorite little gags when they're doing the training, they tell her to cut the chit chat.
Yep.
We've never heard her speak
Yeah,
ever.
that was Zeph saying that again. It's
Yeah.
like, what?
But she kind of goes, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I should shut up.
Yeah, she's as
It's a
chatty as
Morn gag. Yeah.
yeah, she's just as chatty, if not more so than Morn.
Yeah, absolutely. The reference to the Boothby supernova, of course.
Yes.
I'm assuming something, we'll see it in the next episode, actually, but Boothby, of course, the groundskeeper. It's bringing to mind like the Kulvard starburst maneuver or something like that, but hopefully less illegal. Stuff like that. The Daystrom Institute is mentioned as somewhere that could build Zero's new body, but of course Zero opts for Jankum to do that instead. I liked this discussion about the new comm badges and
Yeah.
Chakotay remembering seeing it on Admiral Jane, like the future Admiral Janeway from the Voyager finale Endgame. and that whole discussion of that. Like, so many times with stuff like that, I feel like in Star Trek anyway, especially 90s Star Trek, there's no like memory for that. Like they don't,
Mm-hmm.
but in this it's like it's like a little piece of costuming, and they comment about how that design was introduced with I love that. I love that stuff. That was great.
Yes, I appreciate that because 90s Trek and 80s Trek was, because it kind of crossed over, it was made so that you could watch episodes out of order and all that kind of crap.
Mhm.
Why was that a thing ever? That's dumb. That is dumb.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you even, syndicate a series and then just broadcast it out of order? Why would you do that for anything?
Yeah.
Why? It makes no sense to me. Why was that a consideration ever?
Mhm.
I'm sure some rich guy thought that up. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get it because I saw TNG piecemeal because it was preempted for base basketball games, and I was on vacation one week when a new episode aired, and like all that kind of stuff. So I kind of get it in theory, but I think being slavish to that is like, no, put in the little things so people get interested. And then I guess maybe there was no easy way to go back and watch an episode until it was rerun, but whatever.
Yeah. It's and now, look at us now.
Yeah.
We have it so good.
Hmm.
We have it so
Absolutely.
good.
So Jellicoe says Starfleet is spread thin by the Romulan evacuation, referencing what's going on with all of that with the impending supernova. He also mentions A500 androids barely holding member worlds together, and those were the mass-produced unintelligent androids from the early episodes of Star Trek Picard. Very nice reference there. Department of Temporal Investigations is mentioned as handling the Protostar issue from here on out. Those were first introduced in the episode Trials and Tribulations. That's the first time we ever saw them. Chakotay says to Janeway, "It's been a long road."
I know. I started singing.
Yep, of course.
Yeah. And I'm like, I have to stop singing. I'm not I'm missing dialogue here.
So I love this one. Ascensia contacts Voyager by hijacking the Watson subspace relays. Now, Voyager's contact with Earth was facilitated by Reg Barkley and Project Watson, which was how they routed the call to be able to talk to Voyager from Earth. So that infrastructure still exists, and that was hijacked by Ascensia. So I love that. And of course, named for Thomas Watson, the assistant to Alexander Graham Bell,
Hmm.
who I think is famously the first phone call was Watson, I need you, or something like
Hmm.
that. I don't know.
Yes.
That's always a fun little trivia thing. Okay. Jankum says Voyager's draining more juice than a dichromium cloud creature. Uh, that was the blood-sucking vampire cloud from the TOS episode Obsession.
Hmm.
And finally, as you already mentioned, the Mark II Nova Flyer was redesigned by none other than Tom Paris. So that is a lot of references in that episode.
Yeah, a lot. Because when you consider that the episode minus credits is about 20 minutes long, that
Yeah.
is a lot to pack in.
Now there are decidedly fewer of them in the second episode, but
Yeah. Well,
we'll
there's
get
too much other stuff going on. We don't need a bunch of references. That's why they packed them all in the first episode.
yeah,
First part.
absolutely. So part two, let's change our names. Like, oh, you already did. Okay.
Did I steal yours?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, good.
I came up with two just in case I needed to. The other one I came up with actually was Wackadoo It Is.
See, mine was wackadoo moved. So that was my other one. But for some reason I thought you might do that. So I took bifurcating the tractor beam because it's fun to say the word bifurcating.
Yes. This was always my first choice just because there's something about Murph going pew pew pew. Yep. All right. So Ascension Part 2, written by Alex Hansen, a much shorter writing credit this episode, and directed by Sean Bishop. So we pick up, of course, right where the last one left off. Voyager's in shambles, totally without power, and these drones are being launched, and they're kind of taking Voyager apart, basically. And the question becomes, do they risk the protostar to help out Voyager, even though it's so necessary for the past to restore the timeline and stuff? And of course, they're going to do that. They're going to risk the protostar to save the Voyager crew. And Chakotay is going to go against orders, which Janeway says for once. And Chakotay says for
For
once.
what? It's like, have you not seen Voyager, the series?
That was one of my favorite little bits. He's like, thank you for going against orders for once. For once? That killed me.
Mhm. Loved that.
So Essentia asks or forces Wesley to show her the future, I guess, and he lets her see Voyager being destroyed, which, as horrifying as it was, again, gorgeous animation. Oh my god.
Mhm. It was, it's hard to say it this way, but it was a glorious sight to behold, not because it was being destroyed, but just because of the attention to detail. And it was just, yeah, obviously I didn't want to see Voyager getting blown up, but the way that they animated it was
Mhm.
amazing.
I had a thought while watching it, and I mean, as gorgeous as some of the stuff they did in the early days were, like, gone are the days of building a model and packing it with explosives and filming it from below and hoping it comes out okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, they did some gorgeous, amazing stuff with model work like that, but this one being able to plan exactly how it all goes and stuff.
Mhm.
People, I don't know, they're like, people like to have this kind of outcry against CGI, but there's just as much artistry in all of that, I think, as anything else,
Well, I don't
if it's
think they
done well.
yeah, I don't think people understand the effort, the amount of effort that goes into CGI.
Mhm.
That's why when you see, a movie that's had a lot of CGI in it, and there's like 15 CGI companies that helped make that
Yeah.
movie, because it's a massive undertaking. And
Mhm.
it just, you've got one person just working on the grids of the objects, and you've got one person working on this, and it just, the amount of effort it takes to get what you see on the screen done, it takes months. It takes months. It is
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Essentia, having seen this outcome, fires the Incursor, which is this weapon.
What a dumb name, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's such an evil villain name.
The
But
fire the Incursor.
you just wanted to say it like that. Yeah, she's just full of herself.
Yeah. That said, and I was going to save this comment for the very end, but Jamila Jamil as a villain, oh my god, I love her.
She she does it so brilliantly, because
Mhm.
she can be completely over the top and also completely in control. And it's a delicate balance to strike, but that's basically Essentia.
Yeah, so good. So this weapon, the Incursor, which is this big, long, pointy torpedo, I guess, and it impales Voyager, and it really reminded me of that torpedo. Do you remember at the end of season 2 of Discovery that went
Mhm.
into Enterprise's hull? I had definite vibes of that.
Yeah,
Very different weapon in this case, though.
yeah.
But yeah.
The torpedo was supposed to blow up. Thankfully, it did not at the
Hmm.
time, um, because otherwise the whole ship would have gone. But yeah, but the Incursor, the Incursor is. It's just a mean, awful thing.
Yeah. So it like it has this energy field that expands, and it hyper ages it speeds up the flow of time basically.
Chronometric radiation. What do you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, and it
Sounds horrible.
everything rusts over, and anybody who happens to get caught in it hyper ages, as we see uh oh my god,
Tisis.
Tysus gets encompassed by this just for a few seconds, and he gets quite hyper aged. Uh,
Which is okay because a few weeks of
Cerebusian, I think,
Cerebusian, yes,
or
Cerebusian gene
Cerberusian,
therapy.
something like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Why don't it's like Cerberus, Cerberusian. That's it, Cerberusian. That's it. That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it,
Yeah.
Cerberusian. Gene therapy. That'll fix him right up. What? What is that?
So if this thing, and it sounds like what it did was it actually sped up time within the bubble.
Right.
He naturally aged that much.
Mhm.
So could this just be used on somebody who got old and you can just de-age them? Could Chakotay get his 10 years back with this?
I know, right? What? It's like, what do you use that for? And why haven't we heard of it? And maybe it has something to do with the radiation aspect of it,
Maybe?
of the incursor chronometric
Probably.
radiation thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
But I'm
just like
like, I could go
a
for some of
mouthful.
that therapy.
Yes. Could you please give me that? Give me that so I can just get rid of. Oh wait, I don't really have that many wrinkles. Never mind. I'm okay. I'm good. In
Yeah.
10 years, I might not be. Yeah, I might be like, "Give me some of that therapy." But right now, I'm fine.
Yeah. But, be kind of good to have in the back pocket. Just saying.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Um, so we also learn here from Jellicoe that reinforcements are days away. They finally get in touch with Starfleet, but the fleet's spread too thin. There's nobody close enough. They're sending ships, but they're days away. So that's not good. Excuse me.
But, I think that's Essensia's, and she doesn't even know the timing of that until afterwards when she realizes not a single ship came to their aid.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's bad. That's bad that she knows that now.
No. Yeah, not good, but they've got to get this in cursor. They've got to get it turned off somehow. They've got to, you know, yeah, reverse the effects maybe, or disable it or something. Nobody can get close enough because of the danger of the hyper aging, and even the doctor, the holographic emitters will be destroyed or rusted over, kind of thing. So Zero figures that they are the only one that can do this, because a Medusan can live, we don't know how long, but a very, very long time. The catch being, of course, that their body will deteriorate even faster, and they will lose the use of it. And yeah, this was where, like, my God, like
Mhm.
as they're walking towards this thing, I am feeling every step, like the shaky arm, and just the creak in the actor's voice. Oh
Mhm.
God, it's so well done and heartbreaking.
Yeah, this is me crying through that entire sequence.
Yeah.
Even though
Oh,
I know what's happening and I know it's gonna happen. Yeah, it doesn't matter because it's emotionally devastating to watch them give up that body sooner than they would have liked. And another aspect of that that I really love is that Jankum finds out, because Rock is talking to Zero, trying to figure out how to shut this thing down when they realize they can't shut it down, but they can send it somewhere else. But Jenkins just like, I gotta go. And they don't even realize he's missing. It's like, why is the why is the vehicle replicator going? And Jacob's like, I'm doing this. I gotta get them a new body, like, right now.
Hmm. And yeah, when Zero says like, Mr. Pog, I'm going to need that body sooner than I realized. Like, oh, that, oh man. And they do a brilliant thing too, while Zero is doing all of this, and they're talking, and their voices like that. They have the voiceover of what they said earlier about being with their friends. And it's like at that moment you realize how different the voice sounds. Like, wow. And so much appreciation for Angus Imrie
Mhm.
and his voice acting there. It's so good.
It's impressive. Always has been. But this scene was just, uh it was stellar. It was a stellar performance, and it
Hmm.
had me crying like a baby.
Yeah. So meanwhile, while all of this is going on, the fighters are going to make a run on Essensia's ship. But every time they try they're doing their maneuvers and stuff, the drones are anticipating them. And they realize that, like, well, we've got to throw the book out. We've got to become unpredictable. And I love Migel's line, the logical move is to abandon logic altogether. And
Mhm.
yeah, they just become unpredictable, and some more so than others. I love Dal kind of getting after Miguel. Circles. You're gonna have to do better than that. Get wackadoo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta show me those wackadoo moves.
Wackadoo it is. She said.
Those words coming from her mouth. She's fully embracing the abandoned logic altogether.
Yeah, I love that. Um, the realization that Zero comes to is that they can't disable the weapon, they can't turn it off. They can only redirect its target, and it can only target Starfleet ships. So the plan is for it to target Magel's ship, and then Magel is going to lead it to Essensia's ship. Um, which I love that, like, even though they're separated and all this, they're working together. I love those two together. It's really cute. Um, but yeah, that was Michelle kind of coming to that logical realization when she says Wesley said I would be needed. And um, I don't even think necessarily like this is what he's talking about in this moment, but I
Yeah.
love the effect that it has. Like,
Mhm.
saying something like that causes someone to step up in the moment when they're needed. Now maybe she would have done that anyway, but
Probably
it,
would've,
it
but even
yeah,
so.
but it's cool that, like, if you think you're necessary, you will make yourself necessary. I feel like there's a lesson in there somewhere that's really cool.
Agreed, and it's funny because she says, "Whether this is my moment or not, this is what we're doing." And I thought,
Mhm.
oh, honey, you're not just a moment. You're not just a moment in the whole grand scheme of this, sweetie. Not just a moment at all. Girl."
Yeah. Oh, what a great character. I love her.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, they do this. They change their they can't hear from Zero. They're not sure what's happening, but the weapon starts to come out and they realize that they've done it. It follows Miguel and they lead it to the ship. They do the Boothby supernova, which apparently involves ejecting the drive section and going up, I guess. I don't know. It looked pretty cool though. But yeah, the weapon goes, and, like, speaking of ships getting destroyed,
Wow.
mwah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Was anyone else really super creeped out by that dreadnought? I mean, the dreadnoughts are creepy to begin with, but when he realizes that the torpedoes are incoming and you see all these cords attached to the back of him and how they're lighting up and moving faster, I'm just like, ugh,
Mhm. Yeah.
ugh.
Um, yeah, we didn't mention with the first episode, but yeah, he is really creepy, just generally too. And the one part of that I kind of loved was when they show up and Janeway says, "If you fire on this vessel, that will be considered an act of war." And he goes, "Acknowledged." Bleep.
Yep. Because that's exactly what Ascension wants. She wants a
Yeah.
war with Starfleet.
He's like, "Oh, good to know. Cool." Yeah.
Yeah. That's wow. That's
Yeah, I
great.
was trying to remember his name too. I've got it right here too.
Jimmy Simpson?
Jimmy Simpson. Yeah, Jimmy Simpson is Dreadnought. Yeah, he's so good at that.
That dude is a master of making you believe he's somebody else. Because
Yeah.
I've seen him the first time I think I saw him was actually in Westworld, the series.
Okay.
And that will mess with your mind a lot. That series will mess with your mind because there's
Yeah.
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff going on there, and you don't know whether you're in the past or the present, or the future. You don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah.
But that was the first time that I saw him, that I recalled, and then I saw him again in a new Twilight Zone episode when
Hmm.
Jordan Peele was producing Twilight Zone for a little while,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's really good. He's really
Yeah.
good becoming other people.
There's a like in the most recent years of Star Trek, there's been so many people added to Star Trek that have kind of been on my wish list to see in Star Trek for the longest time, and I can't believe how many we're getting. Like John
Mhm.
Noble, for example. I'm just like, John Noble's in Star Trek now. That makes me so
Yeah.
happy. And Paul Giamatti, like Paul Giamatti's going to be in Star Trek.
How did that happen? I'm not complaining. I just
Yeah.
wanna know, how did that conversation happen?
Oh man. Well, apparently, okay, this is total aside, but I was reading this story that uh like they kind of got in contact with him after they had seen that interview where he was like, "I really want to be on Star Trek," and talks about all this stuff. They said, "Well, we've got these lists of characters. Pick who you would like to be." And he's like, "I want to be that guy." And they're like, "Well, that's a season long character. Like, how about one of these like cameo ones?" He's like, "Nope, nope, I want to be there. I want to." And they're like, "Well, okay then." So that was him. He was wanting to do like a big meaty part. So
I
I
love
cannot
it.
wait.
Me
And
either.
then before that, of course, Michelle Yeoh. I'm just like,
Mhm.
Michelle Yeoh's in Star Trek. I still am amazed by that.
That brought me such great joy because I have loved Michelle Yeoh for decades.
Oh,
So,
she's amazing.
like, since before I was married to my husband, I have loved Michelle Yeoh. Watching
Oh,
her get her start in martial arts movies, I mean, I'm telling you,
yeah,
she's a glorious creature.
absolutely. So, yeah, there's a big question mark as to Zero's fate as far as the audience goes, but we do get this big reveal of Zero's shiny new body, the kind of original design, but with upgrades, these tactile sensory inputs and stuff. And my favorite is that when Mijel reaches out to touch him or to touch them, their reaction, "Ooh, oh my."
Oh,
That was
yes.
perfect. That was
The
perfect.
it's working as programmed.
That was wonderful. Um, so, apparently Voyager and Protostar are ordered to go to Solum now because they're the closest chips. Um, and so that's gonna be what happens next. And we do get a little bit at the end with Essentia and Wesley again, where and this was where I'd written that Jamila Jamil is such a good villain. Her
Mhm.
delivery of that whole monologue at the end, and then the Starfleet is entirely unprepared for what comes next. It's just like, ooh, I love her as a villain.
Mhm.
She's
She's
just like she's chewing every bit of that dialogue. So good.
It is, and her voice is just such perfection.
Mhm.
Like when she was pretending to be that ensign whose name escapes me, when British people do American accents, or people with British accents, I should say, do American accents, it always sounds harsh. It doesn't sound as good as their normal voice.
Mhm.
And I've seen her do like an American voice. I'm pretty sure it was in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, no, please don't make her do that anymore. Please let her just have her own voice, please, because
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah. And yeah, as she was, I think she was just Ensign Essentia.
Oh,
She
no,
just
she had
hasn't.
a different name. She had a different name. It
No,
was not Essentia.
I'm pretty sure it was Ensign Essentia was.
Hmm, maybe. I can't remember. I got to go back and watch season 1.
Yeah, she just went by Essentia according
Mm,
to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
because her Von Cott title was the Vindicator.
right.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that these 2 episodes then were called Ascension. Ha ha ha! 1 and 2. Ha ha ha!
Mhm.
I did. I got it. I got it immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really loved that scene though because Wesley's having to play it cool, but I love how he can't help himself. Oh, what's the matter? Didn't go like you wanted.
And they do the thing where, yeah, he's got that bravado there, but at the end he does still have that worried look, which, of course he's worried because things might not work. He's still got to keep it on the plan but I mean, it might not happen. And also he's being tortured. Like
Mhm.
he's gonna look
Yeah,
a little rough for sure. But
yeah.
yeah, you get the hints there if you haven't already sussed that out, that like he's where he needs to be and things are happening the way they're supposed to. So
It's all part of the plan because he saw it. He found the one universe,
mhm. Did the
found the
Doctor
one
Strange
timeline.
thing.
He did. He did the same thing. Took him a while, but he found. Actually, he was probably faster than Doctor Strange. Let's be honest, but
Yeah.
but he found that one timeline and how things had to go, and he's doing his part. He's not being just an observer, and
Yeah.
that was the whole point. That's why all the rest of the travelers like, no, it's not. We're not supposed to interfere. Blah blah blah. And he's like, no, we're going to interfere. I'm sorry. I'm
Mhm.
not going to let my home be destroyed.
Yeah,
So
it's my mom's from that timeline.
yeah, I'm going to save my mom. Damn it.
Yeah. So the uh canon connections and Easter eggs and stuff, really only 2 that I picked out. And I don't know if that's because there weren't very many or because I was so into the story that I was just like not paying attention, which is entirely possible. But the first one we already talked about, which is Chakotay defied Janeway's orders. And Janeway says, "Thank you for doing that for once." And Chakotay's for once, referring to the many times that Chakotay and Janeway have been at odds, and the few times that Chakotay has defied her orders in the past. And then the second one, which is one of my absolute favorite ones, is when Tysus sees the torpedo embedded in the hull and says, "Great Uzave," which is an Andorian deity which has never been mentioned in canon. That's just from the novels, but now it's in canon thanks to Prodigy, and I love that. Like, the writers have read the novels. That makes me so happy. I love it.
It's because they're fans.
Hmm. Anyway, that's all that I saw. Other than, again, stuff that already happened in episode 1, like the Boothby supernova and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yes.
So there we go. That's Ascension Part 1 and Part 2. Brandi, do you have any final thoughts? Anything we haven't mentioned? And rating for these episodes? And that, of course, goes for the fine folks in the comments as well.
I found myself having to go back and rewatch certain things because I wasn't writing down notes. I was
Mhm.
just sucked into the episodes, and so I'm like, "Crap, I need to write this down, back up, back up, back up," and
That
so
happened to me a few times.
yeah, it happened to me a lot in the second part of
Yeah.
the two-parter. Um, there is this moment when, and I believe it's when, Majel is talking to the new talking to Zero in their new suit, and she says, "How do you feel?" And of course, immediately I'm thinking Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, Spock
Nice.
being asked by the computer, "How do you feel?"
Yeah.
So that was immediately the connection I made in my brain.
That's a
And
good
whether
one, and I think that's good enough that, like, I count that as a missed one for my
yeah,
list. Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
whether that I think I can't imagine that that's not purposeful. It's
Mhm.
just too well done. So I'm just gonna go with that was done purposely, and thank you for that because, I love me my Vulcans, even though they frustrate me a lot too. But, I'm gonna give this, gosh, so many choices. I'm gonna give this, a pair of binars because we got to see a pair of binars helping out during
Oh,
these 2 episodes. So well done, binars, and thank you for your service.
I missed that too, apparently. Nice.
Well, apparently we forget they're there unless you got Mariner shouting, "What up, binars?" when she walks in the room. Oh, no, did I freeze? Did I freeze? Did Dan freeze? Who froze? Who's frozen? Is it me? Is it me? I don't know. Am I frozen? Tell me, chat. Is it me? Oh, it's Dan. Okay. Well, of course, I guess it would have to be Dan because I can still see the chat going. Dan, come back to us, Dan. We miss you. We need your final thoughts. Come on, Dan. Make it work. Make it work. Make it work. Okay, I'm gonna vamp for a while. Oh, I guess he had to leave and he'll be back. So I can't do like the comment highlights because I'm not the controller of this stream. So I apologize. So how's everybody doing? Is everybody okay? Everybody feeling okay? Everybody all the Americans looking forward to a 3-day weekend. Hopefully you get a 3-day weekend. Some people don't. I know people who work in retail definitely aren't going to get a 3-day weekend. I should know because I used to work in retail. Now I'm just going to word vomit all over you guys. So we've only got four episodes left of Star Trek Prodigy season 2, which means that's only 2 more weeks we have to cover this wonderful series, this wonderful season, and I think we need to start fighting for a season 3, like really fighting out loud and everywhere on social media, especially too. Ooh, Wellington making croissants. I love croissants. Apparently, Jean-Luc only likes coffee and croissants for breakfast. That's a deep cut. Anyone remember what episode that's from? TNG. Yep. Spock is where he belongs, not falling over. Thanks, Dave. So, ah! And so he returns.
I was actually looking at how to get on my phone because I don't know what was going on, but, apparently it finally loaded. Wow.
That's okay. Well, I vamped while you were gone. Talked about fighting for a season 3. Also about how Jean-Luc Picard only likes coffee and croissant for breakfast. And no, Dan, did you freeze again? No, we don't want this. Yes. Oh, they did fly another plane banner over Netflix HQ. Well, the first one seemed to do well, so there is that. Um, Kate's also fighting. Thank you, Wellington. That's good because we need more of this. We need more of this. This is Star Trek at its best, and we need that for all of us, not just for the kids. So, but I've lost Dan again. Dan is being hacked by the Packleds. Yeah, yeah, that tracks. That tracks. They're not exactly good at what they do either. So, wonders of technology, like you said, Patrick. Anyway, this is getting awkward. So, um, well, I'll just talk about uh Wellington, you're making me laugh. I'll just talk about the stuff that I normally would have, that Dan would have asked me about. You can find me on Twitter at Brandywine12, but I really don't visit that much. Blue Sky is really a better place, which is Brandywine at bsky.social. I like to say Bisky because that's what it spells out, Bisky, BSKY, which is really just Blue Sky. So, but it's BSKY, Bisky. Also, Shield Podulation, the podcast that I have with my husband. There he is again,
Ah,
crossing fingers.
I
We
don't know
need
what's going on.
your final thoughts, Dan.
I love these
You know,
episodes. They're really great. The animation's beautiful. All the character moments are awesome. I give it
no. Well,
my
there. We didn't
did I?
quite get we didn't quite get your rating.
Oh, one team of overworked animators
Yes.
was my rating. I am so sorry about this. I don't know what's going on.
It's not your fault. It's not like we blame you for this. So
There we go. My first indication something was wrong is I couldn't highlight another comment. I was like, what's going on? Anyway, everybody's ratings.
Yep. TJ.
I like that.
You're just not letting Coupon Jim go, and I appreciate you so much for that.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Wow. Thanks
Fantastic.
for everybody putting up with me and what the heck is going on with my internet, but yeah.
Packleds. That's what
Packleds.
someone said. Packleds were trying to hack you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, Brandi, you were already right?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Shield Podulation. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and probably is some other places I don't know about, because sometimes they show up on podcatchers I don't know about. But yeah, next week, if you haven't heard already, we'll be doing Star Trek Nemesis.
Nice.
Which
I look forward to that.
yeah, I did find out that I had actually started watching it again at some point on Amazon Prime, because when I went to make sure that it was on Amazon Prime, it had just this little sliver that had been, of watched on it, and I'm like, when was this? Don't remember. So I'm pretty sure that I haven't seen it in its entirety since it came out in theaters. So that's gonna be interesting.
That'll be fun. It'll be a good discussion. You can't always talk about things that you love, right? So
no, that sometimes the things that you don't love make great discussion. So
absolutely.
we're gonna have a good time. It'll be totally unfiltered as before. And if you listen to episode 2, you heard Dave and I have a polite argument. So there's that. We don't yell. We're just like, no, that's not what happened. Yes, Tom Hardy. Looking forward to that. I do like Tom Hardy. Also, he's not as big as you think he is, because I am the same height as Tom Hardy. Go figure. They just it's Hollywood tricks. Hollywood tricks. So Dan is frozen again. I can't end the stream without him. So anyway, guys, I'm sure Dan will tell you things about stuff, but I don't know what those things are. So yeah, Kurt Ratz, he's pretty much Kurt Ratz on everything. So there's that. And movie or not to movie. Dave, we're watching the movie. We're watching the movie today. That's how we're rolling. And we're not saving the movies for just Star Trek Day, because that is a little too, what's the word I'm looking for here? Spaced out, I guess. We don't want to space them out that far. So yeah. Here we go. So, I'm out of things to say. I hope you guys all have a good weekend. And when Dan comes back again, I guess he can end the live stream because I don't have the power to do that. To stop the live. Or do I? Do I? I don't think I do. No, I definitely don't. Riemann Viceroy is Hellboy. When was he Hellboy? Oh, right! Never mind! Never mind. Riemann Viceroy. Got it. I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up because I had forgotten all about most of what happened in Star Trek Nemesis simply because I haven't watched it in a really long time. I am trapped with you. Or you're trapped with me. No, you guys can leave. That's the thing. You could leave. I could leave the studio, but then what would be here? I don't know. I can't imagine. I couldn't do that to Dan. That would just be the worst thing ever. So I guess that we can just sit here quietly and be thankful. I guess that's something people always say. Just be thankful for this or that. Must be what it feels like to be in a Pokeball. Yep. Yep. That's pretty much it. Pretty much it. I'm just waiting for someone to let me out. Someone to throw me at something. Somebody let me out. So, what kind of Pokemon would I be? Thanks, Patrick. But now I'm interested in how and in what Pokemon you guys think I should be. So, if I could be a Pokemon, what do you think would suit me? Because, you know, judging by what you know of me. Anyway, Dan, we miss you. We would like to have you here. Dan. Dan, don't leave me. Don't leave me all by myself. I got a message. Okay. All I wanted to do was pump the really cool episode of Positively Trek coming out tomorrow, but now my internet won't come back on. Okay, well, that's that. So, tell you what, guys, I'm going to leave the studio and then hopefully that will end the live stream. And if it doesn't, then Dan will have to take care of that when he can. So, I cat walked across the keyboard. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week for episodes 17 and 18. I can't believe we're almost to the end. I don't want it to be over. And so live long and prosper, live logs and proper, or combine them both and live long and proper. And we'll see you next week. Okay, bye.